Live. All right, good. We are live. Welcome everybody to our Success Mastermind. So Adrian and I were just talking about what I did this past weekend. Happy Halloween, by the way, everyone, which was last night. Happy All Saints Day or All Souls Day, which is today. Let me turn off my volume on that. All right, good. And so I just got back from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which Adrian's been to. Anybody else ever been to Sioux Falls, South Dakota? I had never been to South Dakota at all, ever. Although I know they have the biggest bike rally in North America every year at Sturgis on the other side of the state. But what a beautiful little city, clean. We went up there to experience Dude Perfect live. So listen to this, guys. This is I think instructive in terms of marketing. So here's 5 guys who met in college. They went to a Christian college in Texas, and decided to do like trick shots and stuff, and like throwing basketballs behind their back and making baskets and just put it on YouTube. And so they started 12 years ago doing like trick shots on YouTube. They got 56 million followers on YouTube. 56 million. And so they decided to do a tour. So let's go on tour. Let's monetize this. And I'm sure they get, plenty of ad revenue and merchandise and whatever. So they decided last year, Dude Perfect Tour 2020, COVID, shut it down, right? So 2021, very good. So we had like VIP tickets, and we got to meet the dudes and all this. And just 5 guys, very family oriented, a lot of kids, right? The crowd is full of like 10 to 15-year-olds, and they do little competitions with, sports type things, and 10,000 people in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, of all places, right? 10,000 people in this stadium. We were doing the calculations just on the tickets. That's probably $2 million worth of tickets. What did it cost them to do the stadium or the tour, right? I wonder about the economics of all this, right? How does someone go from, we're doing basketball trick shots on YouTube to, we'll take the stadium, the tour bus, here's the merchandise, right? Think of the capital investment in that. Okay. And so I was kind of dazzled by all that. Like, holy crap, this is millions of dollars worth of business happening right before my eyes. And these kids are going nuts over it. And it's not, they're not doing stuff that they're not like amazing superheroes or anything, right? It's just 5 guys being silly, throwing basketballs and riding tricycles around the stage. And oh my goodness, millions of dollars. All right. So we just started our week with that. So welcome everyone to November. I'm back. I experienced Dude Perfect, and my scope, my thinkingness has expanded on. This was therapeutic for me. This was for me. I don't know about my daughter. She loved it, but I was like, look at that. Look at what they're doing. Right. I'm thinking like a marketer. I'm like, man, now for every Dude Perfect, there's probably 100,000 acts, right? We could say the same thing about music. Adrian, you know about music, right? So how many Aerosmiths are there? How many Billy Joels, right? How many other guys can play the piano but aren't, Billy Joel or Elton John, right? So what happened there? What happened? Why Billy Joel? Great friggin' question. And of course, the answer for me, if I had to come up with an answer right now, would be, well, marketing, and good investments in terms of, buying that song from that songwriter. And, some people here would probably know better than me, right? I remember Elton John, which I grew up listening to Elton John in the 70s, right? But Bernie Taupin or whoever else was, writing their stuff. Wow, that song would sound good coming out of Elton John's mouth. Okay, like I can't perform it, but I can write it, right? So there's a lot that goes on there. There's a whole staff of people. There's lots of different posts that need to be manned, right? Here's the t-shirt people, and here's the ticket people, here's security, right? And here's the talent. So when I think of myself, and I'm wondering if you can all relate to this in your own world, okay? But this is, I guess, the topic for today. Here's where we're going with this. When I think of myself as what are my strengths? I've often, chuckled when I've gone to like an event and they want me to speak, and then they're asking me questions about logistics, the lighting guy or the soundboard or whatever. And while I know enough about, pro audio and whatever, that's not my post. And I would just say, I'm just a talent, right? Or billing. That's the best one. When they come up and they ask me about who gets the bill for the, we need to sign off on the thing at the ballroom. I'm just a talent, right? Now people tend to like staff and workers and stuff tend to come up to me and expect me, because I'm wearing a nice suit or something, expect me to be the guy in charge. So that's instructive too. Okay, how we present ourselves, that's instructive too. But knowing our post and knowing that in that environment, just say, for example, a seminar or something, I'm just a talent. I have to direct them to someone else who has those answers. But that is, I think, that is in terms of my own business, limiting, because if I intend to expand, and I think we all do, right? We all have the intention to expand. We are here to experience the achievement of goals and expansion in our enterprises, singular or plural, right? What hat must we wear? Can I remain just the talent? These 5 dudes on stage, right? They had a whole staff of people, and they know what they're good at and they know what they're not good at. So they're going to be the talent, but my goodness, are they going to pay? You think they pocketed that $2 million in tickets, or the another $1 million in t-shirt sales or whatever, No, that wasn't all for them. So thinking of bigger, having a bigger game, which actually, creates jobs and whole economies can spring up around a product or an idea. Excuse me. That's where I find that I've been limited in my thinking. I can just be the talent, right? Or it's easy for me to do the things that I'm already good at, but it's been hard for me to delegate the things which admittedly I'm not good at, or I'm just not going to do. I've practiced avoidance long enough in these other areas to know that I'm just not going to do it, right? I talked about this in October at some point in the past month, where Shannon and I sat down and had a meeting. Shannon's amazing, by the way, and she knows the areas that she's amazing in, but she also knows the areas where, she'd rather not have the interest or the aptitude to do those kind of things. So we develop our strengths, we manage our weaknesses. Here's the marketing people, and they will take, let's say, 50%, which is not uncommon, sometimes more, right, to get that product on the road. Yeah, you got a product, that's nice. Billy Joel has a product. Dude Perfect has a product. Everybody's got a product. Well, hopefully you do. That, or you're just sitting around watching Netflix or something. But the product is almost interchangeable, right? Who's buying it? Now we're talking. And that's where attention must come in. If you're the talent, okay, well, who else has other talents? So anyway, my scope was expanded with this thing. I was thinking, all right, we're going to South Dakota to see this wacky show because they're not doing an event in Phoenix or whatever, which is interesting. They chose secondary cities. They did not choose Phoenix. They chose Sioux Falls. Why? Probably some economic reasons for that. Could they not fill a stadium in Phoenix? I'm sure they could. Probably better than the Arizona Cardinals could at this point. But in that case, right, they made some decisions and they executed on those decisions, and it was a hit, even with a 1-year delay. So what have we been delaying? And, insert reasons here. That's fine. All right. So COVID delayed, the venues, and we can't do the tour and whatever. Okay. So that's fine in that case. Most of us work online. In fact, I'd say all of us do. Right. So how many of us have like a retail store or need to go on tour and get tour buses? Probably none of us. Right. Maybe Gail. Right. Gail's doing her Kung Fu tour or something. No. Right. But what has stopped us up to this point? Do we not know how to man that post over there? All right, well, we're either going to learn it or we're going to delegate it, or it's not going to happen. It's November, folks. It's November. So we got 2 months to accomplish whatever we're going to accomplish in this calendar year, for what it's worth, right? For what it's worth. I don't worship the calendar or anything. However, there are trends, right? In terms of like retail, for example. Tis the season. You got something that people buy retail. I know we've talked about bath bombs and cookbooks and what have you here. Tis the season. Can you get that out like really get it out, like make known, here's what you're buying, ladies and gentlemen. You didn't know it yesterday, but you know it now. Okay, can you get that out there? And this is a question I ask myself. What could I offer the public to not only expand my public, right? Because there's only so many, like we got a small group on here right now. We've had larger groups on here. People go in different directions, they get busy with life and they get distracted and they do other things that occur as more important to them at that time. Okay, so considering that there's always the need to expand your public, your audience, right, for whatever you do. That's how businesses expand and grow and remain profitable. Well, then the question comes up, I think, for each of us, what can I do to expand? Not just to maintain, but to expand. Now, Adrian's helped us with this in various ways throughout the past year plus on the Life and Business Tools events, which happen every other week right here in the group. How much of that, right, have we been able to apply? And some of the stuff Adrian talks about, and I'm just leaning on Adrian for a moment here. Some of the stuff he talks about, I know that I don't know. I know that it's not my area of expertise. He starts talking about, contracting and legalese and, accounting and stuff. Oh, my brain turns to mush, right? Why? Because I don't know the language. I don't know the language. Just kind of like on a guitar, right? There's chords and there's notes and there's progressions and arpeggios and scales, right? So that's kind of like a language, which, a proficient guitarist typically knows. Although I did hear Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest say, I don't know a fish scale from a Phrygian scale. I don't know. I just play what sounds good. So I envy that. I was like, man, here I am learning this scales. He's like, I don't know, whatever. What kind of scale is that? Okay. So, but I guess the guy's been noodling on his guitar for, it's probably been 50 years now, right? Judas Priest. Still kicking ass on stage, right? All these years. I remember I was at a Judas Priest concert in San Bernardino, California, just east of Los Angeles. And there were 18-year-olds and stuff in the audience. And Rob Halford, the lead singer, the metal god himself, said, we've been making heavy metal longer than you've been alive. All right. So, but there's another example. Right there. There's another example. And while we may, in some cases, we may marvel at, wow, these people are at the top of their game. What did they really do? Yeah, they made a good product. Okay, arguably, right? You could say, I hate Judas Priest. I hate Elton John. Okay, fine. That's subjective. But because they've expanded their audience enough to the point where out of the 7 billion people on the planet, enough people said, yes, take my money, you get to be a superstar. So what are we selling here? Each of us, right? That's a question we got to ask. And are we actually selling it, or are we just sitting there with a secret business? How many dudes can do trick shots and funny stage antics for fun for the family and don't have 56 million followers on YouTube? Most of them. Does luck have something to do with this? I would argue no. I think of not Ben Franklin. I think of Abe Lincoln, right? Who his political career, right, as a person who had quite an impact, here in my country and throughout the world, was met with, one stop after another, right? How do you go from, failing to be elected to even lower positions, in terms of governance, to one of the most famous, presidents who ever lived? How do you do that? Well, he was obviously persistent, which isn't luck. Napoleon Hill said, of Henry Ford and others that he studied Lincoln as well. But this was one trait which these masters, these magnates of business and whatever, that they had above all others, right, was persistence. If they had nothing else, well, they had that. And he said that especially of Henry Ford, to the point where he was considered obstinate. Okay. But he also said that what induces our own persistence is faith that we actually can accomplish great things. Otherwise, why would you persist, right? What's the use? But then he also said, going down the rabbit hole, what is the one thing, the one known method for inducing faith? So if persistence and demonstrating persistence is our so-called luck, okay, and we're not going to do it without faith, what is the one thing that is a known method to induce faith? Autosuggestion. What we tell ourselves about ourselves all day long, whether we know it or not. Aha, aha. And he called this the keystone and the arch of the entire Think and Grow Rich philosophy. Direct quote. The keystone and the arch of the entire philosophy, autosuggestion. He said all other principles, here's 13 of them, but all of them serve that. Because think of the upward spiral now, right? So I can, and I'm telling myself I can. All right, I can. Oh, I have faith that I can. And so now I persist. Oh, a swing and a miss, a swing and a miss. Dude Perfect's been around 12 years. Okay, they started with a YouTube video. Now I got 56 million subscribers. Okay, ultimately, here's a tour. So that upward spiral, oh, we got more subscribers. Hey guys, we just hit 1 million subscribers. Okay, great. Maybe let's sell some t-shirts now or something. So that upward spiral, we demonstrated, or they did, right? They demonstrated autosuggestion, faith, persistence. Here's a product, here's something, here's a result. Oh, I like that, right? So does that not feed us in terms of our own internal dialogue when we see, yes, we've had a great result? Here's one right here in this group. All right. So I happen to know that Stuart and Leah have probably the best bath bombs on the planet. The packaging and everything, it's spectacular. And I know this because my wife and myself, we've bought them for clients and stuff like that as like corporate gifts and what have you. Okay. So that acknowledgement, I'm sure Stuart likes hearing that. Good to see you, Stuart. So that's not just to give him a tongue bath and say, oh, Stuart, you're amazing and whatever. Okay. But what action could be taken from that? Knowing that you've got a good product says other people too. Validation's good. Validation's part of it, right? Of course, you've got to self-validate. You've got to auto-suggestion means, you working on yourself. But can we not then say, oh, well, you know what? Here's validation in the marketplace. Last time I checked, Stuart was sold out of a lot of his stuff. And so let's, raise the bar on that, assuming that that's purposeful and right. And it's something that, is self-determined by the producer of that product that they would like to scale up on. Okay. All of us here, right? I know Adrian and I, just to talk about Adrian again, we've got some ideas on things that we could do. It's a bunch of work to do it, but there is use. There is use for, some of the teachings, right? And the things that people don't know about business and, contracting and really how to have a total like business makeover, which starts right here, by the way, right? Is that something that could be packaged and sold? Yes, and we've been talking about that for a while, and we've had lots of other things that have impinged on our attention. But that's something that could come to be. Okay. And sometimes the questions that come up for us is, who are these people? Who is this public? Did Elton John or did Dude Perfect know, who this public was? No, they had to get in communication. They had to market. They had to put it out there. But the demand, I think, already existed. And here's the bridge that I think people like me have to cross, is the fact that I don't know who the next customer is, who's going to buy my stuff, right? That's an unknown kind of a thing. That sometimes causes me to say, well, then why reach? Then why, make this effort with an unknown quantity of results or lack of results? I'm not sure. I don't know. And see, right there, that's where a competent marketer, right? Somebody who's all about impinging on, people with advertising and other methods, right? That's where they could come in more objectively because they're not the product producer. Excuse me. And they could say, oh, here's the strategy that we use on that. I think that market right there, let's go hit that market, right? And bring customers here, and I'll take my percentage, right? That's where sometimes we're too close to it. And again, I'm speaking for myself. Sometimes we're too close to it to be objective about it, right? So where am I going with all this? It's November, and whatever that means for you, I'm looking at, what can I do to not just incrementally, but exponentially increase statistics in this or that area. And I've got a few, right, that I've got my hands in. I can tell you one thing right now that's going friggin' crazy is one of my businesses has to deal with purchasing American, US made products and via e-commerce and all that. And it's total friggin' madness right now. So we're going to strike while that iron's hot. I think it's going to be hot for a while. Now, if that takes my attention from other things like putting out my next book or something, I've got to be okay with that. I've got to be okay with that, right? So, and not just because it's expedient, okay, but it's a conscious decision that this is on the hierarchy of importances. This is a very high importance, okay. Whereas these other things, that can be done later because I can't do everything all at once, which is another lie I've told myself from time to time. Although I think my wife can. She is. I don't know how she does everything she does. And she can't obviously do everything. Her book still isn't out, right? So we're in the proofreading stage of her book for like a couple of months now. So like these are things that need to get done, but there's other things that have been determined to be of higher importance in present time. All right, so let's go ahead and get those things done. I guess what I'm offering each of us here today, including myself, is can we just, since it's November 1st, unless you're in Australia, you're seeing this on the 2nd. Since it's November 1st, can we just take a step back? And I don't mean sit there and meditate on it for a day. I mean, just write out, here's our projects, here's our goals, right? Here are the products that we're working with, right? And for the next 60 days, here's the hierarchy of importances, right? Here is what we shall subordinate. Here's what we shall exalt, right? And now that we've made conscious decisions by looking objectively at those things, whatever the product or whatever the result is at the end of 2 months, we'll feel like we've done our best, right? We've made good decisions, right? So I think that definiteness, that decisiveness, it gives me a lot of relief, right? Rather than just kind of bumbling through life, being tossed to and fro, being deliberate about it, whether I was right or wrong. I made some decisions. Right? Because indecision's the killer. Indecision. I keep coming back to that because, guys, that was like one of the biggest friggin' breakthroughs I've ever had. I'll quote Napoleon Hill one more time, where in his book, subsequent to Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, which some of you have read. And this was the book that his wife refused to have published because it was too controversial while they were alive. She's like, once we're both dead, they can publish it, but it's too controversial. Right, because in this book, Napoleon Hill mocked up this conversation with the devil, and very controversial. And in that book, he was like wrestling the devil, trying to extract the secrets of, how the devil crushes men. And finally, the devil comes clean and says, if I can get a man to drift through life in a state of chronic indecision, I've beaten him. There it is, indecision. There's the enemy. So for me, that was like the answer of answers right there. Self-determinism or indecision, cause or effect. There it is. So we can keep looking for secrets, I suppose, or we could continue rationalizing why we don't or whatever. Indecision. There's the enemy. So I keep leaning on that because it just keeps bearing fruit. It just keeps showing itself as, wow, John, if you just decide that your cause, if you just decide to have an effect, if you just decide, there it is. Anyway, I love you guys. I'm so happy to be back and start my week with you here. I guess the topic is, I don't know, whatever the topic is. I'll figure out a title when we're done. Adrian, if you would, please save me. What are we talking about here today?
You've raised so many topics there, John. There's a whole universe of topics there. Going right back to the beginning, you were talking about What makes the difference? Why are some of these people playing with 53 million fans and some fumbling around? On the music front, what I've seen is that it's definitely the material. So I've seen thousands of fantastic musicians who are technically brilliant, but they'll never get anywhere. They'll play, they'll make a reasonable living, but they'll never break through. The guys that broke through are often actually not nearly as good as they are at playing the instrument, but they're brilliant at the material. And they've written that definitive material that breaks them into the public domain and big time. So I suppose it's what you focus on, but it's not necessarily the delivery mechanism, it's the actual content, it's what it is. And then behind that, the character. Well, I've met a lot of these people, I've been lucky to do that. And you meet someone like Lemmy Kilminster of Motorhead. That man was a major character and unforgettable. He had a real persona and an image, but not only that, he just kept going. He was a roadie when he started. He was carrying the instruments around, and then he left the band, partly because he was so badly behaved, but he left the band and set up his own band, and he was running that brand, because he created a brand out of it, for 50 years. And he once said to us when we asked him, a young guitarist said, I'm getting a bit old, I'm 40 odd, what should I do, Lemmy? And he said, listen, if you're a serious rock musician, you're going to die on the stage. And he meant it. He meant it. So it's your persona, it's your character that has to come through this product or this service. And it is the content. So that goes back to your delegation point, because if you focus on all the other bits, which, yes, we've got to do when it's a tiny business, but if you keep focusing on all of that to the exclusion of portraying yourself to your followers and your material, then it's going to come to a cap and it won't go any further, probably. That's what I've seen in these people that have managed to accumulate mass followings. For sure, have to delegate. And it's definitely persistence and not luck, because they just kept going. They just kept going. And you've mentioned the 60-day plan. We've been talking a lot about that in the last few weeks, and you've been talking about the corollary to this in the book club. I'll go back again to these atomic habits, because we can make those 60-day plans, but it's absolutely useless if we haven't embedded the habit of allotting time at a definite place in a definite way to that part of the 60-day plan every day. Otherwise, it's a wonderful piece of paper. It gets you all fired up and inspired and sounds great, but without that actual habit at the right time of the day, which you always keep to, it's unlikely to be actioned persistently, which means you'll be talking about it next year. So that's what occurred to me. But you raised a lot of issues there, John.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And of course, thank you for the reminder that we have our book study group tonight, where we're studying the third law of atomic habits, which is make it easy. So that's 4 chapters in there, I think chapter 11 to 14. So get through that before we get together tonight, those of you who tune in live. Thank you, Adrian. Always good to see you, brother. Any other thoughts on this? Where we're going? Persistence versus luck, I suppose, is the topic. Any other thoughts? All right. Allie. Hi, Allie. Come on out, my friend, and we'll go to Stuart. Hey, Allie.
Hi. Hiya. Yeah, just love what you're saying about the decisions. I know I've said my struggle with decisions before now, but I don't think I'd ever quite realized how everything is a decision. Just everything is a decision. And when I analyze everything and I look back to it, it's because I hadn't quite made that decision and made it a committed decision. It's the commitment to it, isn't it? That's so crucial, just crucial, to make it and commit and follow through, whatever. Make it the correct decision, because there's no right or wrong. Just make that decision and make it work. And yeah, that's been key for me, realizing that I have been in, that you can realize that you haven't made a decision about a job or a product or whatever, but there's other much deeper decisions that we need to recognize and make, which are underlying so many things. So yeah, it's been a big thing for me too.
Wow. Well, glad you're here, Allie. And are you finding that you're sticking with your decisions? Is this working out for you?
Yes, but it's I would say it's a work in progress. Yeah, I'm getting stronger and stronger every day to make those commitments. And yeah, it's definitely changing.
Wow. Well, glad you're here, my friend. I'm excited to see what you produce throughout the rest of this year. So good times. Ali, let's go to Stuart, the Llama King. Good to see you, brother.
Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Hi, Mandy. Hi, Ali. Hey, Adrian. We've been trying to get together for a while now. Nice to see your face, brother. Dudes, you're all perfect, right? I think what a great show or act. Immediately reminded me of the Harlem Globetrotters, right? I don't know if you were talking about these guys like throwing basketballs or whatever. Like I had never heard of that before. So is it kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters mixed with Jackass or something? Like what's the deal?
It's a clean version of Jackass. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Super cool. You touched on a few things. I don't know if the decision or indecision part was what hit me. But even your opening on I'm just the talent, right? And that brought up a couple of things for me. One, the word just or only in front of anything just automatically is cringeworthy to me because it's limiting just in its diction, right? And so even, people use the word I'm only human, right? And to me, like, that's like, oh, I hate that because, humanity implies boundless capabilities and limitlessness and things like that. But when you talk about the talent, it just reminded me, I did a trip to LA a few years back for the 40th anniversary of Earth Day, 2010. And this guy from LA who had been courting me, let's say, talking about like reality TV shows and all kinds of interesting stuff. And he brought me out to Los Angeles to do this walk across LA with the llamas on Earth Day. Very interesting experience for me. But it turned out, I get out there after much planning, and the guy talks to me. He's like, "And you're the talent, right?" And I'd never really sort of been in that showbiz realm, right? And I had to kind of wrap my head around that, and his whole, I'd be out there brushing the llamas, getting ready for like a public event or something, and he would yell at me because I was wearing the same clothes to brush the llamas that I would do the gig in, because that's kind of how I do my thing, right? He's like, no, you don't stage in your gig clothes or whatever. He kind of like was giving me this whole thing. So you kind of brought up this whole experience for me. But to go from that into giving me props on the bath bombs, and thank you, we work really hard, and I have to say, like, Leah is the one out there working really hard to make those things, and we're really proud of the product that we offer, and I would hope that no matter what anybody is doing out there, that there's an amount of pride, that you feel about whatever it is that you're putting out to the world in terms of your product, right? And it's funny because, it's been, I don't know, 18 months or so since, I've been on the trail with a group, and, some of you know that I've gone through some physical challenges, had some surgery, and I'm kind of on my way back to recreating myself and our business and things like that. And so as much props as we've been getting for the bath bombs, I'm reminding myself as well that I became a bit of a celebrity in the outdoor guiding world as well. Got whatever 500-600 5-star reviews on TripAdvisor. We got named as one of the top 10 tours in America, all this kind of stuff, right? And so when you start talking about things like that and the best bath bombs, right? And I'm like, oh my God, there was also a thing that I did that I was that I was the best at or whatever. And I think that just comes to whatever you do, right? And there's, I think of integrity, I think of you, I think of the book that you wrote and the way that you show up every day. Glenn, what's up, dude? And what, I don't know who said the quote, the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? And whether you're making bath bombs or walking down the trail with llamas or, network marketing or whatever it is, right? I remember being a kid and, in Queens, New York, and I know you can relate, just trying to find your way in the world. Yeah, Brooklyn in the house, baby. And I remember my dad telling me, I don't care what it is that you do with your life, but whatever it is that you do, you be the best version of that. And, if there was one thing that my father had said to me that stuck with me all these years, that's it, right? And whatever it is you do, be the best, right? I remember him saying, you want to be a garbage man, you be the best damn garbage man or whatever, And so I just think that sentiment is powerful and carries through for me in whatever I do in my life. And what else did I want to say? You're talking about self-talk, right? And the stories that we tell ourselves. And so many of the personal development books have at least a component of this concept of self-talk. And some of the stats are crazy. We say 3,000 words to ourselves a minute, right? And that has a profound impact on what we think about ourselves and how we present ourselves to the rest of the world and how we do or don't engage in the world or do anything, right? And the next version of that is we have 50,000 thoughts a day, right? So even just thinking about these things, right? And of course the Stoics would say that it's your duty to be the vigilant guardian or gatekeeper of your mind, right? And so many of the books that we've read talk about that, it's your responsibility to stand at the door and make sure that the things that you let into your consciousness are things that are positive, productive, helpful, things that energize, invigorate, increase you and things like that. And so, that you touched on a lot of that. And then it reminded me of the Blake quote from, I want to say it's from Jerusalem, the long poem.
Mm-hmm.
What does he say? Oh, what have I said? Oh, what have I done? Oh, the power of the human word, right? And it just hits me super hard. So if there's one thing, and auto-suggestion, man, hurrah to Napoleon Hill and all the people that talk about it, because it's true, man. The way that we perceive ourselves, the things that we tell ourselves affects every other interaction that we have, whether it's with ourselves or with anybody else or any endeavor that we engage in. Thanks for being there, John. Thanks for this community. I'm glad to be here. I'm only hitting a Monday a week for now, but it's a great way for me to start my week. So thank you, man.
Beautiful. And so looking forward to going to Taos in the springtime. Yes, my friends, prepare for Llama tours this spring. Good times. We're gonna get some of our British friends over here too. Get them up on a trail. We have like mountains and stuff. Yeah. Get ready. All right. Anybody else before we wrap up today? All right. Well, we're going to be getting together, I think, 2 more times today. Let me just check. E-commerce work group. Yes. 3 p.m. Eastern US time. I know that we had a week off last week from that, but we're back in the saddle. And then book study, 9 p.m. Eastern US time tonight. So looking forward to seeing everybody there.